Hello and welcome to the book industry lecture for Journalism M01, Intro to Mass Communications. My name is Professor Kelsey Stewart and this is with Moorpark College. So with the Industrial Revolution, as well as the spread of knowledge and literacy, this spurred the emergence of the middle class. So its demand for books promoted the development of the publishing industry. We have Harper and Brothers. In 1817 they were formed. They're now HarperCollins, with a Little Brown, which was formed in 1837, and Scribner's in 1842, and they are all still around today. The late 1800s and the early 1900s marked the transfer of rural American life to the industrialized urban culture, and the demand for books grew. The book industry also helped to assimilate European immigrants to the English language and American culture. And in 1910, over 13,000 book titles were produced, a number that would not be seen until the late 1950s. This launched a new wave of publishing houses like the McGraw-Hill Book Company in 1909 and Random House in 1925. So there are main types of books. We have trade books, which are hardbound and paper books aimed at general readers and all right, so there are 5 types of books here. So we have trade books. These are hardbound paperback books aimed at general readers and sold at commercial retail outlets. The industry has 3 categories. We have adult trade books, which are hardbound paperback fiction, current nonfiction, biographies, books on hobbies, that sort of thing. We have juvenile books, and these range from preschool color picture books to young adult books. And then lastly, as of 2003, we have graphic novels. So those are the 3 types of trade books. We also have professional books. These target various occupational groups. They're not intended normally for a general consumer market. These types of books have declined over the years as corporations have tended to use more online platforms for them, online training, so forth, as well as library budgets have declined to support them. Okay, so textbooks. These are they have served a nation intent on improving literacy rate and public education. So elementary school textbooks found a solid market in the 19th century. College textbooks boomed in the 1950s with the GI Bill, which enabled 100,000 working middle-class men returning from World War II to attend college. The first textbook was called the Eclectic Reader, and this was an elementary reading book developed by William Holmes McGuffey. He was a Presbyterian minister and a college professor. From 1836 to 1920, over 100 million copies were sold of the Eclectic Reader. This book taught children how to read and spell simultaneously while also teaching them history. So as of now, more than half the states actually let local districts select their own textbooks. California does not. California, their texts are set at the state level. So it's called a statewide adoption policy. If a district or a school decides to use a different textbook than the one mandated, they are not reimbursed by the state for their purchases. As of now, college students purchase textbooks on their own separate from tuition. And on average, a college student can plan on spending over $500 to $800 a year on textbooks, depending on their major and their year in school. As journalism changes and updates yearly with digital platforms, strategies, and trends, we have taken to an online education resource option for our textbooks. So we have taken different types of texts, myself included, to use. So there's zero textbook cost involved in this field. Okay, so we also have religious books. Now, the best-selling book actually of all time is the Bible in all of its versions. After World War II, religious books sales soared. And during the 1960s, the religious sales dropped. Again, with Vietnam and the hippie lifestyle and so forth, religious books were just not on the forefront of modern culture at the moment. But then again, they soared in the 1980s. The most recent dip was in 2016, and they can be attributed to personal publications of the religious genre. For example, Chip and Joanna Gaines, their Magnolia Story, and so forth. So lastly, we have university press books. This is the smallest division in the book industry. It's nonprofit university press. So this publishes scholarly works for small groups of readers interested in intellectually specialized areas. So this is like lit theory, criticism, art, history of art movements, contemporary philosophy. Oftentimes, professors will try to secure book contracts from reputable university presses to increase their chances for tenure, a lifetime teaching contract. So most of the most well known of is Oxford University Press, which publishes 6,000 titles a year. So let's talk about books in the digital age of books. So we're going to go from print to digital. So in 1971, Michael Hart, a student computer operator at the University of Illinois, typed up a text of the U.S. Declaration of Independence, creating the first e-book, a digital book that read on a computer or a digital reading device. Hart went on to found Project Gutenberg, which offered 40,000 public domain books. So these are older texts with expired copyrights for free. Models were made to offer ebooks, but all 1990s inventions were bulky and offered little cost advantage to the consumer and print counterparts. So in 2007, though, Amazon, the largest online bookseller, developed an e-reader and an online bookstore. So the Kindle, which seemed to be inspired by Apple's iPod, and iTunes, and those obviously changed the music industry as their ebook or e-reader. The Kindle changed the book industry. So let's talk about publishing. A publisher is either a large company that is subsidiary of a global media conglomerate and occupies an entire office building, or a one-person home office operations that uses a laptop. Compared to other mass media industries, book publishing has adapted to the digital turn and has been able to avoid a huge decline in revenue. From the 1980s to 2016, total revenue rose from $9 billion to about $27 billion. So commercial publishing, like most mass media, is dominated by a handful of major corporations with ties to international media conglomerates. Mergers and consolidations have driven the book industry. Today, the largest publisher is Pearson, which is UK-based and started in the 1920s. At one point, Pearson owned Financial Times and had 50% share in the Economics magazine, as well as half of Penguin Random House, which is the largest trade book publisher in the world. In 2015, Pearson committed to elementary and high school, college, and professional publishing businesses, textbooks, and exams for education markets. The top 5 publishers today are Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, which are owned by CBS, Hachette, HarperCollins, which is owned by News Corp, and Macmillan, which is owned by German-based Holtzbrinck. So we're going to go into book publishing. Whether a large publishing house staffed with more than 100 employees or a small publishing house staffed with fewer than 20, the positions are similar. Acquisition editors are employed by publishers to seek out and sign author contracts. For fiction, this means discovering talented writers through book agents or reading unsolicited manuscripts. For nonfiction editors, editors examine manuscripts and letters of inquiry or match a known writer to a project. Acquisition editors handle the subsidy rights for an author. These are the selling rights to a book for use in other media, such as the basis for a screenplay. So sometimes authors receive advance money that is an early payment subtracted from royalties earned from book sales. However, the amount is usually dictated by their talent or fame. So after the contract is signed, the acquisitions editors may turn the book over to a developmental editor who provides the author with feedback, or a copy editor who attends to specific problems in writing or length, and production and design managers actually work on the look of the books, making designs and type of style, paper cover design, layout, that sort of thing. Selling the books in stores. The last stage involves the business and order fulfillment. So shipping books to thousands of commercial outlets and college bookstores. Warehouse inventories are stocked, anticipating demand, but anticipating demand can be difficult, as no publisher wants to be caught short if a book becomes popular than predicted, or they want to be stuck with books that they have to sell that weren't as popular. So Barnes & Nobles, which first opened in 1886, carries 200,000 titles, and Borders started in 1971, actually had to close its doors in 2011. So in 1995 to 2000, 43% of independent bookstores closed in the United States. This had to do with the rise in 1995 of Amazon and how they combated selling books online versus in print. Borders, again, they closed their last store in 2011. Barnes and Nobles then is now the last national bookstore retail chain in the U.S. They have currently 627 stores in the 50 states. Ironically, though, the independent bookstores closed up from 1995 to 2000, but there was a resurge for independent bookstores from 2009 till now. Actually, they have just risen with just independent e-publishing opportunities and smaller town book opportunities. So we're now talking selling the books online. So the strength of online sellers lies in their convenience and low prices, and especially their ability to offer backlist titles and the work of less famous authors that retail stores aren't able to carry on their shelves. Online customers are also drawn to the interactive nature of these sites. They allow readers to post their own book reviews, for instance. So the obvious trailblazer is Amazon, which launched in 1995 by Jeff Bezos. He left Wall Street to start a web-based business. He formed the name Amazon because search engines back then, like Yahoo, used to list categories in alphabetical order. So the introduction of Kindle in 2011 made Amazon the fastest book delivery system in the world with seconds delivery. Amazon quickly grew to control 90% of the ebook market. So this was used as leverage to force book publishers actually to comply with its low prices or risk getting dropped from Amazon Bookstore. This is something that has happened to several independent book publishers who complained. In fact, this price slicing, so they control 90% of the ebook market, so they would slice they would keep low prices and offer less, in a sense. This was so effective that most of the major trade book publishing corporations embraced this model. So publishers would set the price, and then the digital bookseller would get like 30% commission.
Yeah, right.
This is still in effect, and Amazon currently controls roughly 75% of ebook sales. So we can see the other competitors here on this chart. We have Google Play Books, Kobo is pretty big, BNN Nook, Apple iBooks, and of course then there's Amazon. So ebook publishing, because ebooks made publishing and distribution costs low, ebook publishing has enabled authors to sidestep traditional publishers. So now ebook publishing companies offer to design and distribute books for a comparative lower price for aspiring authors who want to self-publish a title. Although sales are typically lower for such books, the low overhead cost allows for high royalty rates for the authors and lower retail prices for the readers. So here's a list and hyperlinked of, we have Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing, which is obviously the most popular. We have Lulu Publishing and Kobo Publishing as just a few. So books, again, they are the oldest medium. We could often ask ourselves, what would the world look like without books? Think of Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin from the 1860s. This helped to bring an end to slavery. The stories of our childhood that have been reimagined by such tales, Huckleberry Finn, Swiss Family Robinson, Lord of the Rings, Chronicles of Narnia, all of Shakespeare's plays, George Orwell's 1985, Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. Books have made such a difference. They have guided us and inspired us into action. Roughly 79% of Americans have read a book in the last year, with an average of 12 books read a year. 69% print and roughly 28% ebook and 14% audio, although we are seeing a current trend in audiobooks this year for 2020. So thankfully, books and reading have survived the challenge of visual and digital culture, with most of the newest forms and online platforms still carrying on the legacy of books, transcending borders to provide personal stories, world history, and general knowledge, not all who can read. So if you have any questions, this concludes our lectures on books, the power of print and the digital world of books. Here's a couple sources for our textbook that's in print. All right, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.